Hi soulmates, in today's tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to make this two-piece with a zipper at the front. So if this is your first time of visiting my channel, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. So we're going ahead to start drafting our pattern immediately, and the first thing you want to do is to mark your zipper allowance, which I used 1.5 inch for my zipper allowance. Next, I'll be marking my bust point, my under bust point and my waist point, and then I'm going to be using a straight ruler to mark out the lines. So I'll just write down the name under each line so that you can see what we are working with. After which, you will want to go in by your shoulder measurements. You place your shoulder measurements, then go down by half an inch for your shoulder slope, and then 8 inches for your armhole. After that, your armhole, you go in by half an inch on that place you marked, and then connect the points together. So after doing that, the next thing you want to do is to mark your neck depth and your neck width. So I went in by 3 inches for my neck width and 4 inches for my neck depth. We are going to be using a round neckline for this particular dress. Make sure to always start after your zipper allowance. All your measurements should start after your zipper allowance. So I went in to put my round bust measurement, my round waist measurement, and my round hip measurement, because this blouse is stopping around my hip line. So after doing that, I just connect the line together, and then the next thing you want to do is to cross check and then cut out your pattern paper. So I will not be cutting the back because I like to save my pattern paper. So just the only difference between the back and the front is that you are going to be folding in the zipper allowance before cutting your back when you are cutting on your fabric. Hope you understand. So the next thing we are going to do now is to fold our our fabric into two to cut our front. I went ahead to add 2-inch sewing allowance because I did not add the allowance on my pattern paper, so I'm doing that on my main fabric, and then I joined it together. I also went down by 1 inch for sewing allowance for the hemline because I'm going to be using a lining to turn the hemline of our blouse, right? So I just went ahead to cut out my front piece. So after cutting it out, I'm just going to slash the center of the dress into two, and then notch the point where your zipper is stopping, your zipper allowance is stopping, so that you know where to start sewing your zipper from. So after that, I'm just going to fold in the zipper allowance. So after folding the zipper allowance, you can have your back, and then I'll fold my fabric into two, unfold, and then I'm just going to place it like this. The only difference now is that I am going to be marking the neckline is going to be different. For the back, the neckline is going to be 1.5 inch depth because it is a high neck. So after doing that, you would put your sewing allowance on the sides. Yes, so I also use 2-inch sewing allowance. Make sure to always use the same sewing allowance you use for the back for the front. And then I increased the hemline by 1 inch because I already said we are using the lining to turn our blouse. So after doing that, I just went ahead to cut. So for the back, you are not slashing the center open. It is just going to be like that. There will be no zipper, so it's just going to be like that. So now I'll go ahead to cut my skirt. So for the skirt, I folded it into two and then marked my waist to hip and then my waist to knee. After doing that, I just impute my waist measurement with allowance because this is the main fabric, so I'm adding my allowance. I added my hip measurement, and then whatever I got on my hip, I minus 1.5 and then place it at the knee point because the knee is going to be slanty. And then I added 2-inch allowance for at the hem line so that you can use it to turn your so that you can use your lining to turn the skirt, right? So the skirt is actually not the main reason why we are doing this tutorial. So after doing that, I'm going to be placing my front pattern, my front piece to the back, and then the only thing we are going to be doing now is to add our zipper allowance. So I added 2 inches for my zipper allowance at the back for our zipper allowance. So that would be the back. Then I just go ahead and cut it. So now we are going to be cutting the lining of our blouse. So to cut the lining of your blouse, you are going to fold in that 1 inch you added for allowance, for sewing allowance. So on that place you folded your 1 inch, you will mark, you just mark it from that point, and then you cut out your lining, because it's not going, the lining is not supposed to be the same length as your blouse, so that it can be okay for when you are sewing it. So after cutting, I'll just go over to my sewing machine. I'm going to place my lining on my fabric like this. From the hemline, I'm going to be sewing using 1/2 inch sewing allowance. I'll just sew straight down from the one side of the hemline to the other side of the hemline. So after doing that, you are going to be folding up your hemline by 1.5 inch, and then you are going to be sewing straight up to the armhole. You will sew the both sides of your blouse, your neckline, but you're not going to be covering the armhole. So next, I went ahead to place my front right side facing right side, and then I placed my back on the front piece. That's the front part of the blouse. I made sure that the sides were aligning, and then the next thing, I went ahead to mark out my actual measurement, which I'm going to be sewing on. So I went ahead to mark it with a chalk like this. You are going to be chalking it. After doing that, you are just going to sew on the side you marked, right? So the next thing you are going to do after doing that is to join your zipper. So this is how you make sure you iron your front like this, so that you know where to fix you fix the zipper directly on the crease line that you ironed. So I was done joining the sides together and the zipper together. So the next thing you do after joining is ironing. Ironing is very important. You have to give your seam line that very good press, so that it comes out neat and looking all nice. So basically, I'm done with the major part of this blouse. I'll be fixing the sleeve off camera, and I'll also be sewing down the zipper. I'll cut the zipper and sew it down for proper finishing. So if this video was helpful to you, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. See you in my next tutorial. Bye.